In today's brand new episode of Hill Climb Monsters, it's the turn of the absolutely mental Honda 2 and 4 concept. Can this moon buggy take top spot? Let's find out. What's going on, guys? My name is Matilio and welcome back to Project Cars 2 and a brand new episode of Hill Climb Monsters. And this week, as you can see, it is the turn of the Honda 2 and 4 concept. And the reason I've decided to pick this car is to basically mark or commemorate or celebrate or whatever, I'm not quite sure of the word at the moment, the launch of the Japanese car pack. Now, depending on what version of the game you purchased, you may have already had this, but if you bought the standard edition, then you would have been waiting for the Motorsport pack and the Japanese pack to be released separately, and the Japanese car pack has just been released. So there are some awesome cars in there. The Honda Civic Type R, which you've already seen from this series as well. We used that car for our track guide in episode 1. There's also the legendary Godzilla, the R32 Nissan Skyline, and I think there's also the Nissan 300 ZX as well, race car. But I fell on this one because we've already done a Group A car in week 1 and we did a Skyline a couple of weeks ago, so that kind of ruled Godzilla out for now. I will be coming to it at some point, but I didn't want to do it for this week. And I don't know, I love the look of this car. It looks like a moon buggy. It does. I'm going to put a picture up of the actual moon buggy. It looks like that. It resembles it. Very exposed, very wide open, great visibility, of course, because there's no roof, there's no anything. There's not even a roll cage in this thing. And the other things that stood out for me are the stats you've got here. So the weight is the big one. Look at that. 892 pounds. This thing weighs nothing at all. And when you couple that with the engine that they've got in this thing, which is the same engine that is used in the road-going version of Honda's MotoGP racing bike. That engine is insane. You know, it's 1000cc or just about 1000cc, produces 220 brake horsepower, revs all the way up to 14,000 RPM, and that means, coupled with the weight of this car, it's got a 6-speed sequential gearbox, and it will take it all the way to 161 miles an hour and 0 to 60 in 3 seconds. So this is very much a case of it'll be, if they do decide to launch it, I've heard that the prices for this thing, if they do decide to build it, would be somewhere around the £200,000 mark. So it's not exactly cheap. But this will probably be marketed as something to go up against things like the Ariel Atom, the KTM Expo, the Caterhams. So yeah, very much a track day car. Like I say, it looks bonkers and it is a lot of fun to drive, I can tell you. So I highly suggest you try it. But looking at how we got on with our 2 hours of testing, for those of you new to the series, I'll have 2 hours with which to test and tune and get it set up how I want. I'll go away for 15 minutes, half an hour. I'll come back and I'll have 1 more hour with which to set as many time lapses as I possibly can, and the fastest valid one is the one that counts. But during the setup, the first big thing that I came up against was the fact that the steering was very, very notchy. So I had to try and work that out. And once I'd kind of got that worked out, the next thing I was trying to battle against was understeer. It's very, very responsive through the initial turning and through, corner entry, and through the middle of the corner. This thing carries so much speed, but it's the back end of a corner where you're starting to get understeer and you start to get, dragged wide, which can compromise you, because if you feel you're going wide, you're going to dip off the power and you're going to have to, readjust it and get it settled again. So that was one of the things I was battling against, and admittedly, I didn't get it dialed out as much as I wanted to. The other things, it was really unhappy over the bumps, and not just unhappy. If you took certain bumps, or even those little diddy curbs you see, I'm not talking about the massive curb we've got at places like the Magic Roundabout. I'm talking just the little diddy curbs. You take them at any sort of speed, it will break it. It will. So I just take a curb, and then all of a sudden you just have the steering, in order to go straight, you're having to turn the steering wheel either, left or right in 20, 30 degrees maybe. So it's a very fragile thing as well, so you've got to be careful. And considering that they still, for some reason, are using damage in time trials, which, again, I don't understand. I wish they would turn it off, but it made it a very challenging run. And I'm not going to tell you how we did in terms of times. I can tell you that it's not going to be bottom of the pile. What we're going to do now, though, is we're going to move on to the actual full-blown best run. And we're going to see how this thing does. Can it take top spot? The Lamborghini from last week took top spot from the Skyline, so each week we've had a new car taking top spot, going faster and faster and faster. Can the Honda 2 and 4 concept continue in that trend? Let's find out. Okay then guys, so here we go, and as it always seems to be the case, this was our final run of the hour. Had about 6 minutes left, I think it was, when we started this, and overall this car is very nice to drive, but it seems to suffer from the same things that a lot of other cars of this sort of nature, you know, the KTM Expo, the Ariel Atom, the Cato, you know, the fact that it's got, you know, the steering feels very notchy initially, and also wound very tightly. I understand they're track cars and they want to be very stiff, considering, like I said, most people will be taking them to track days and so on and so forth, but if you're going to be on a course like this where it's basically public roads, where it's very bumpy, it's not going to be like a silky smooth carpet like racetrack, then you really do have to put a lot of focus on the setup. Not so much for the front of the car. The front of the car is very good. It is very good on corner entry and through mid corner, but the exit of the corner where I was getting understeer, I think most of that came from the rear of the car. And so the main focus, like I said, if you're going to be doing this lap in this car, would be focusing on the rear suspension and softening it up, because like I said, it's wound a bit too tight, and not so much the undulating bumps, you know, the bigger undulating bumps, it's not too bad over those, it's quite good. It's just those short sharp ones where the car starts to break traction rapidly and frequently. That's where this thing, like I said, with the stiffer suspension setup, it really makes it difficult to keep this car pointing in the right direction. But as you've just seen through here, traffic go corner, the entry and the mid corner are absolutely amazing. Just a little lift and then you're back on it again, which is a lot different from other cars. There's been a couple of cars we've done already, like the Skyline and the Audi, where you're having to lift and then brake a little bit. But with this thing, little lift, you're back on it again. But as we come now down towards understeer, as you can see, this area was a little bit of a struggle. The understeer would suddenly turn to snap oversteer around here on occasions, and the other challenging part of this circuit was here, the entry into Ice Cream Cove. You can see it's very bumpy, these short sharp bumps, and as you can see, I'm really having to work the wheel just to try and get this thing and keep this thing pointed in the right direction. So on a couple of my practice runs, I did drop it through that section just purely because of the nature of the road through there. But coming down to this area, normally I'd be taking a lot more of the curb, but I was very wary because, like I mentioned, this thing it struck me how fragile this thing was, especially just these little diddy curbs you see as we come through James May Corner. These little diddy curbs, you hit them with a little bit too much speed and it'll damage it, and you'll have to just abandon the run because you'll be stuck there turning left in order to go straight, if that makes sense. But coming through towards the end of the first sector, and we've actually gone green through the first sector, so it's the fastest time we've set. And while that doesn't have much bearing on the other cars, because the Lamborghini and the Audi are in different categories, so they won't be stacked up against this. This is actually in the same category, the Track Day B category, as the Nissan Skyline from a couple of weeks ago. So it's beaten that through the first sector as we come down towards through Outrun and down towards Fraggle Rock Corner. And Fraggle Rock Corner was another place where it really excelled, especially, you know, it's a mild corner. It's a lot milder than it looks when you're coming up to it and approaching it. But yeah, I don't know. I think I maybe started to 50-50 in terms of me getting it figured out, and this car just being very good through it. I took so much speed through there. It's the best I've ever taken it. But same can't be said through here. Bridge Corner, it was a little bit of a challenge. I never really nailed it. I had a lot of times where I was just having to, you know, understeer. That's turning to snap oversteer on the exit. So yeah, that corner was challenging. But another challenging area was this little crest here. Tried to catch me out a couple of times during my practice runs. And this corner here wasn't too bad. If you get the nose in like I did here, if you just dip that front wheel, your front left wheel onto the grass, like I said in last week's episode, there's a little bit of camber there and it'll help drag you around. So try and get the nose in, not too much, just a little bit of grass on the inside, and that'll help you get it through the corner. But as you can see, another place where this thing really, you know, isn't at its best is those medium to slow speed corners. That's where this thing can really be tripped up, as you saw back there. As we come over the first hump on the Camel Straight and down towards the second hump, and wasn't too bad over here. A lot of the cars suffered with a bit of drama through there, but this seemed fairly okay through this particular section. Mirage 1 and 2 were also okay. The pogo stick straight also was actually okay. It's just this little bit here where we just got a little bit out of shape, as you see. I had that in the Lamborghini last week, so I don't know if it's car specific or if it's just Trek specific, but that's a little bit challenging. But unlike all the other cars we've seen, no big drama into this corner. We've seen, you know, in previous episodes, just massive clouds of smoke and big drama trying to get into that corner. But honestly, with this car, it's, you know, because it's so light, you're not really having to brake that much. A little lift here and there, and it will slow down. But I was tippy-toeing through this section a little bit, because as I mentioned, as soon as this thing starts to break traction, that's where you can find yourself, you know, doing yourself a mischief and ruining your lap. But down towards the Great Ocean Highway at the end of Sector 2, we are once again going to go green. So this thing looks like it's got the measure of the Nissan Skyline, but is it going to be able to best the Lamborghini Diablo GTR from last week? But we'll see, because we're just coming. We've only got a very, very short section to go. It's only about a minute and a half through this final sequence of corners. And as we come down towards the viaduct straight, doing this in 6th gear, like I said, the entry and the mid-corner speed this thing can take is absolutely phenomenal. It really is. You're not having to tiptoe like you are in other cars, and especially through here, this has caught me out on a couple of occasions in other cars. That one, no drama at all. So while the first and second sector, it is good, it really excels through this final sector, through sweeps and through through Rocky Road. Deception is a little bit tricky, like I said, because of the fact that this car likes to understeer through the back end of a corner. That's where Deception can properly catch you out, but we managed to get through there. But like I said, through sweeps and Rocky Road, this is where it really comes into its own. I think it's just an absolute joy to drive. It really is, and I think it can only get better. This setup is okay, and it allowed me to kind of put my time in, but I think if somebody took this setup and started twiddling around with it, and they know about suspension and how to do it, they'll be able to get so much more out of this car, because it is, like I said, it's lovely to drive once you get it set up and get over those initial humps. But especially through here, I think this was the best section, Rocky Road. A lot of cars struggled through here, but this, it was just, like I said, no drama at all. Other times I'm having to kind of tiptoe and just be very, very gentle through here, especially because this corner is one that can catch you out. It's a little bit deceptive, it can catch you out. And this final corner here, probably the best again I've ever taken it, like it was with Fraggle Rock corner, the best I've ever taken it. But as we come across the line to finish the lap, it's going to be an absolutely astonishing 7 minutes 13 seconds .512, which means is beaten the Lamborghini by just under 4 seconds. And coming into this episode, even coming onto this lap, I honestly didn't think it had it in it. I had an inclination that it was going to beat the Skyline just through how good it'd been through the practice runs, but I thought I don't think it's going to beat the Lamborghini Diablo. But it's just absolutely just pulls something out of its hat. It's just absolutely brilliant. It really is. And like I said, so surprising. I wasn't expecting it. I really wasn't. I was expecting this thing to maybe jump up into second, but it's not only beaten the Lamborghini, it's beaten it well. And in terms of the rest of the leaderboard, as you can see, we get onto the first page and we're in 9th position. Not the fastest tracked AP car, that's just ahead of us. And there were a couple of moments within that lap and that run where if I hadn't have had those problems, I probably would have been in 8th. I think it would take a lot more runs, a lot more time, a lot more setup to get any higher. But overall, I'm very happy with it. You know, fastest tracked AP car with a steering wheel on PS4 in the world. I'm very happy with it. I think someone, like I say with all my episodes, I think somebody who's better at setting a car up and a better driver, more than likely, of which there are quite a few out there, I think they are going to be able to go faster. But if you haven't tried the Honda 2 and 4 concept, or you haven't picked up the DLC, I highly suggest you do. Not just for this car, but for the other ones as well. But this car, absolutely amazing. Probably may get a little bit overshadowed by Godzilla, the R32, because it's just so legendary. But don't overlook this thing. It is absolutely sublime to drive. It really is so much fun. And take a bit of time to get it set up and just reap the rewards, because it is so fun and so enjoyable. But that is the end of today's episode, and we've got a new leader. It's happened again. All 3 weeks after the first episode, we've had a new leader at the end of each episode. So will it continue next week? I don't know. You'll have to tune in and find out. But today's episode is at an end. So thank you everybody so much for watching. If you did enjoy this, you would like to see more Project Cars 2 and Hill Climb Monsters content from myself, then make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. Also, don't be afraid to leave a comment down below and let me know what cars you would like to see appearing in this series. Always happy to hear from you. But again, thank you for watching. Take care. And as always, I will catch you in the next video. Peace!